Welcome back, allies, to the Visionary Activation Show. I'm your weaver of context, Caroline Casey, and our guest today is Derrick Jensen, and we're talking about broken treaties, oil, gold, rabies, and before I just toss it back to you, Derrick, we've got 10 more minutes of actual show, and then we're going to pitch. But people call, see if you don't need to be pitched to call. 510-848-5732. But the story I wanted to give back to you, Derrick, also too, is you write about the UWA, and I haven't checked in about a year with allies who work with the UWA, but here's the story that I last heard, which is that, Standard Oil was moving in to destroy their lands, and they made an announcement that they would kill themselves if their lands were destroyed for oil drilling. And then it was about a year and a half ago that they said, no, wait, we're going to do 6 months of deep ceremony. And they communed with the oil, and they asked the oil to hide. And Standard Oil did 3 drillings that came up dry, and they packed up and left. So I just wanted to offer that also when we talk about broken treaties, but then how do we heal those treaties? And what a good idea to ask the oil to hide. And the idea that, I keep saying, let animism, eclipse humanism.
Right.
The understanding that everything's alive, and again, we can deal with it, that democracy is not just for humans, it's going, I'll give you this, how about this? It's between forces and gods and oil and UWA and oil and gold. You were talking about uranium doesn't want to be picked up. A snake doesn't want to be picked up.
So I've been thinking a lot about gold, and maybe that's how this whole thing started 6,000 years ago or whatever, is the first time somebody picked up gold without asking permission. And the gold made him, presumably him, her, whatever, made the person crazy. And I don't know.
Maybe not. We don't know. Gold, Egyptian. Maybe there were people who had a reverent relationship to gold.
Right. I'm saying the first one who picked it up without asking permission.
Ah, there you go. Yes, I think that's
the first person. I don't think there's a problem with picking up gold.
Right.
It's just like I don't think there's a problem with cutting down a tree. It's just asking permission, or a problem with eating. It's like, once again, a tree said to me, you're an animal. You consume things. Get over it. And that's it. It has to do with entering that reciprocal relationship, yes. Knowing that that's the big party that goes on this planet, which is I eat you now and you eat me later, and that's the way the whole thing goes. And we've forgotten about that. I've been thinking about that just in terms of actually like pooping. I've been thinking about that a lot. That what we do with our feces, which are in right quantities, just a wonderful gift to the plants and to the bugs and everybody else, that we don't even give that back.
No.
We secret that away
and make it poison.
Yeah. I want to say.
Well, and even our bodies. We actually did a great show a million years ago on somebody who's completely devoted to composting, completely, and he loves the bacteria so much. And he said America's not really quite ready for that. But what I'm really up for, he said, is composting funeral homes.
Of course.
And everybody gets a little baggie for their tomatoes at the end. I like it, but yeah.
I totally agree with that. That's the central thing. Is I would love to, when I die, I want to be eaten by the wild things, because then I get to be wild. And I get to stay on this land, and I get to move around, and then the salmon get to take me out in the ocean, and then they get to come back, or some of them don't come back. I get to travel. That's a good thing.
As long as we wouldn't poison those things that ate us. That's that issue. Yeah.
I wanted to go back to what you said a moment ago. About the oil hiding, and that's something else that a lot of. Vine Deloria was the first one who told me this, but I've heard this from other Americans.
Oh, I love Vine.
Too. Yeah, he's great. And, I don't want to base policy on this in terms of, sort of the whole wretched political system, but a lot of American Indian friends have told me that they don't think that species go away when they go extinct. They don't go extinct is what I'm trying to say. That's what I meant to say. They don't go extinct, they go away. They hide, and who can blame them? And that once civilization's gone, once we start to learn... Once we remember how to treat the land well, they'll come back.
Well, I so wish that were true that I doubt it.
I don't know. Well, I'm also going to put that in that book. I don't know. And here's something I've experienced with that. Is I live on about 40 acres up here of second growth redwood in Northern California. And before, I live on one end of the property. My mom lives on the other end of the property. And before we moved in, there are these two big clearings that had been cleared back in the 30s when they logged this, and in the time since we've moved in, it's amazing how much those clearings have filled in when they hadn't filled in. Much of them hadn't filled in for decades. And I was walking along and I asked the trees one day, why? What's going on with this? And they said very, very clearly that it was because they didn't want to grow if they knew they were going to be cut. But now they know they're not going to be cut. They don't have to worry about it, so they can go ahead. It's like with the UA. They were hiding.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yes.
And no reason to hide now, so we're going to come out and say hi.
Well, that's great. And again, it's one of those things that goes, let's work with that premise.
Yeah.
Because why not? Yeah.
Oh, and I can just hear a CEO for Weyerhaeuser going, okay, so let's see. What we can do is we can tell the trees that we're not going to cut them, and then when they grow, then we'll cut them, which is the false promises thing again.
Yeah, that's what Luther Burbank did. He talked to the cactus and said, you don't need your thorns, you're safe here, and then he bred thornless cactuses, and then he ate them, thus setting back plant-human relations by several generations. But I mean, trust us. Yeah, that issue of trust, because yes, violence, we're here eating each other. Yeah, okay. But we do know, again, that from Kropotkin and the anarchists and natural biologists, that the more we study nature, evolution is symbiosis and mutual aid, which does not exclude violence, but it's still about cooperation.
And I don't see it. That's the rat thing, and I've experienced that too when I was raising chickens. That there were times when the chickens, or the ducks, actually, I was thinking of one specific, and I've written about this, that it would give itself to me. And I mean, once again, so many Indian stories I've heard about this. With it's time for a ceremony, so some deer walks up, and
right. Well, Lawrence Vanderpost did write about, being half-eaten by a lion, and there was the, no, terrible, horrible, and then at the very last moment, sort of like drowning, he was like, cool.
In the sense of cool that you're using here.
Yeah, in the sense of cool that we're using, the Yoruba sense of cool, going, vast, great, the mystery, the being overwhelmed by a larger force, that gets translated into kinky pornography, but actually is that's the toxic mimic of something. I mean, and I think that's the idea of also, as social alchemists, we look at everything going, what did this want to be before it got really twisted and kinky?
Well, that's actually, I'm glad you brought that up too, because that's another thing. It used to really bother me that so often in movies, and it still bothers me, that sex and violence are conflated, because I didn't really see that connection. But killing my own food to eat, suddenly I did see the connection, but it's all inverted, that we have made, or they have made, the culture has made our sex more like its conception of violence instead of making its violence more like the conception of sex. Where what I'm trying to say is that real violence, not the toxic mimic, but the violence of eating is that union that you're talking about. And it should be approached with the same reverence and same joy even, and same both solemnity and joy that sex should be approached. But once again, we've inverted the whole thing, or the whole thing's been inverted so that it all becomes depersonalized, both sex and violence. That's another thing, is that the violence of the natural world is really, really personal. This is, I mean, actually, as we're speaking, I can hear a fly buzzing in a web. I mean, and this particular fly is going to get eaten by this particular spider. It's not mass violence at all. There is no such thing as mass. There's no mass anything anywhere. Because even some large group of bison or whatever is made up of, millions of individuals, each with lives as precious to them as.
Gurdjieff had a joke on the human race, actually, in which he said that the Earth has very specific kind of energetic requirements, and when we eliminate a whole species like bison, then the Earth makes like 12 people equal one bison. Mm-hmm. So it's sort of like, a whole football team is actually equals one bison vibration. Right. And so we have the less than people version. Anyway, that was his, sardonic joke. But, yes. And, phooey, we're gonna have to pitch soon, but maybe people are calling up and being responsible anyway. I'm gonna wait till the authorities break in on us, Derrick.
Okay.
And, let's just say that if you call, we can keep talking, and Derrick can keep talking. 1-800-439-5732 or 510-848-5732. If you light up the board, we can keep going, because I want to ask Derrick, many, many things, and I guess we'll really think of this as part one, but the broken treaties. a friend who was listening to the Ed Tick show. We had a profound caller who called up about her dad dying in Vietnam and her going back there and healing. And Ed Tick takes people back to meet with survivors of My Lai who's, we need to pitch. Well, let me just finish this one sentence. Okay. And because I think it's a lot about what Derrick's gift to us is too. And a friend listening about the healing between My Lai survivors and vets, said that she found herself with deep grief and that we need this grief and this level of remorse because grief and remorse are about clarity. And well, we do honor you, Derrick, as one of the clearest and most lucid
Thank you.
writers and expressors and teachers and so organized. My God, you've got books planned in perpetuity. I'll touch you for luck. But so you can hang on, and here come our great imperator, Jim Bennett, who is the Shadow World Governor for the benefit of all creation, who's going to help us pitch. We're going to get there now. And also, let me just be Libran hostess. Derrick, you can hang with us, or you can go off back to your solo brooding as you feel free.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, whatever you want to do.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much. Infinite thanks. Okay, I think he's gone back to write several books this afternoon.
Well, he's a great guest, and I like the parting of the veil that he does. It's not pretty often. It's not always easy to hear what these great guests have to tell us. It can be sort of sad and upsetting, but he's searing in what he sees, and it's good for us to learn about this.